Lloyd, can you hear us?
Simulation.
So now you can hear me. Oh yeah.
Person broke into this house.
Right. Okay.
Identify the elements of each of them. Tell me what your proof problems are going to be.
You can undo
That's not proof problem, but I mean, that's a good situation. They'll come back. Good stuff.
Now can you speak, Tom?
Yes, I can.
All right.
They'll talk about lesser included charges. That's what we'll just write down on the side.
Get the what? Oh, great. Nice. What the heck? I got a fat roll.
It's a good thing you don't have mine here.
Oh my goodness.
For an actual council meeting? Zoom appearance
Yes.
for a council meeting?
Yeah, if sickness. Yeah, he will not be able to participate in closed session. Hey, Lloyd.
Even better than a scary picture.
It is. Big Brother's watching.
I don't know what he's doing. What's wrong with Lloyd? Something wrong with him?
Hey. Call to order. Common Council meeting, 6 p.m., September 28th, 2020. We are in the council chambers. The meeting agenda has been posted and the media has been notified. Please call roll.
Barnett,
Here.
Larson,
Here.
Mikulowski,
Here.
Kelly, absent. Anderson,
He said here.
okay, Holt, Daniel,
Here.
Rossing,
Here.
Mayor Frederickson.
Here. We have quorum. Let's all please stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments. Has any alderperson received public comments? Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? David? Yes. You need to, your light's still not on. Red light. Jim? Yes, I have. It's.
Yep, there.
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Chris
Hey,
now has
easy
the
now.
power of the mute button over all of
Hey,
us.
Wade is still muted for some reason.
I have a citizen statement from Bill Liebert. It's 361 Highview Parkway. I am not going to read the entire statement. Bill and I had a conversation over the phone just a couple hours ago. He gave us that option. He said that he wants this to be a part of the public record, but that we did not need to read it. So I'm not going to be reading it.
So it'll be handed to our clerk as a part of the official record.
Did I do that right now?
If you so choose. She has it also.
Oh.
I'm the one that gave it to you.
That's the only copy I have right now.
Okay.
All right. I'll get it back to you by the end of the night.
Thank you. Mayor's comments. Obviously, as anybody at home is watching, we have new microphones and we are learning how to use them. Hopefully the sound quality is better. The batteries won't run out. We can sit 4 to 6 inches away from that microphone. It picks up the sound better. Once again, there is a lighting factor up here that, as I have my instructions, left can mute button can mute everybody. So just so you understand what happens, and once again, we'll have some dialogue till we get used to it, and I appreciate your patience. That being said, it was an interesting week with lots of work products not yet ready for council's consumption, but there are a lot of things moving and a lot of things to be excited about in the city. Meeting minutes. Consider the approval of minutes from September 14th, 2020 council meeting.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes as presented in the packet.
Mikulowski, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 7, introduction to new business. Consider the approval of Stanley J. Nitzel as the agent for Krishna Hotels LLC, Quality Inn, 668 West Kemp Street.
I will make a motion to approve Stanley Nitzel as agent for Krishna Hotels LLC, the Quality Inn at 668 West Kemp Street.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just for giggles, should we ask Chief if he has anything to chime in on to see how that works?
Yeah.
Chief Gauthier, anything you'd like to add one way or the other about this person becoming the agent?
No, nothing to add.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Sorry, I'll wait for that delay on Gerald. Sorry about that, Gerald. There's just a momentary delay, so we get your vote. Review and the approval of the 2019 audit.
So the city's annual audit is nearly complete. Friday afternoon, we received documentation. There's a version in your packets of that. I also this afternoon emailed a link to you all with 2 handouts, and then there's a paper copy of one of the 2 handouts at your table. Essentially, the city's audit concludes with a management letter that is customary for audits to generate some recommendations. There's some kind of carryover recommendations that have happened that are appearing again this year, one of which is a point about internal controls, which is essentially the duplication and separation of duties. Given we have a lean, small staff, it's a little bit difficult, and that's one of the recommendations that they continue to carry forward, as is customary with the audits, to explore the tests between the separation of duties and that. The more notable one, though, is the lack of compliance with a federal requirement from bidding. And so for the cities, I believe it was a Stevens Street project, the city, per federal requirements, is supposed to go to bid for engineers, and it did not do it on that project, so that was a finding of the audit. Certainly it's a reflection for us to acknowledge how we have to address that going forward, and we will be going to bid for, especially for using federal dollars. That's really the trigger for it, and we didn't do so. So we'll have to make sure we're compliant with that going forward. So the video I sent you is about 30 minutes. If you kind of want to save yourself having to necessarily watch it all, the last 3 minutes talk about the recommendations in the audit that I just referenced. So I would just draw your attention to those 3 minutes at the end, just to capture that information.
For the purposes of transparency and the population out there, even at a League of Municipalities conference, they talked about having comfort with your engineers, comfortable, business partners or whatever, yet at the same time staying within compliance. And this is a compliance issue where the comfort outstretched the compliance. At that point, we'll be looking at as a city. Any questions?
We'll do it better in the future.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Carrie?
Even if we put the bid out, we don't have to take the cheapest bid. We can choose who we want, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
It's more so for the process.
The league does a pretty good job when they have sessions. As far as that goes, if you go to road construction or prop, they'll walk you through some of those things. And I think they're doing them online now somewhat, or they're moving towards that transition so that we get can consume some of that information and have a good partner to give us some information. I will take a motion to approve the audit.
Motion to approve the audit, the 2019 audit.
Barnett, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? It's hard to digest this in a short amount of time, so if that was something you wanted to pause on, but the recap was pretty simple and straightforward. So I feel comfortable taking that motion at this time and not waiting.
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Gerald. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Review 4.02.06 parking limitations, winter parking regulations.
In your packets is, I think page 23, is the current municipal code for parking regulations as it pertains to the winter season. I know Chief Gauthier and Dan from Streets wanted to talk about this. I think the purpose of tonight is to simply to refresh the council what the current ordinance states, and there might be some recommendations coming before the council to amend the current recommendation or the current rules. So we've got a bit of time on this, but certainly any changes that are contemplated will have to have a second reading, and want that to occur before December should there be any substantial changes to the current code.
I got a question.
Yep.
We talking about mainly Brown Street? We talking about just winter in general? Or what are we?
I'll look to Dan or the chief to talk about that. Dan, you had suggested
Please.
that there might be some operational changes.
Go ahead and step up to the mic.
And I think your microphone, you'll have to make sure it's red.
Push the button.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. I think the changes that we were looking at is the we're trying to change the 3 a.m. to 12, so we could get our crew out a little bit earlier, start plowing. We're actually held up by downtown Brown Street due to the fact that there's bars down there. But we're really cutting close on clearing the roads and getting the roads cleared before the traffic starts. So looking to maybe change that to 12, maybe 1. Most municipalities do have 12 or 1 o'clock. So as far as these streets, I think we have to add a couple streets on this. I think we have to add the outer skirt streets to this C. But outside of that, we would like just to keep everything remaining the same.
I guess, I think review, some review and some changes are good. The only thing that I want to make sure that we do is let people know ahead of time, let the businesses on Brown Street know, like now and then in the next few weeks, so that we can prepare, because we might get snow in November, and I don't want people to say, well, I didn't know. I'd like to send out information to businesses so that they're aware in multiple different ways. So whatever we can do to get this hammered out and everybody's on the same page should be great.
Yes, we'll work with this and the ordinance both, so we can get that
Eileen?
compliance.
Is there signage that's going to need to be changed?
Yes, that's a good point. All our parking ban signs would have to be addressed. In a way, it's nice because the signs are very old, and they don't have, you want some reflective ones nowadays too. So we would go ahead and start changing those out.
Do we know about how many we're looking at replacing?
Good question. I would have to go around and kind of tally that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief? Oops, sorry. Chief, do you have anything to chime in on this? Chief Floyd?
I think he's frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not moving.
Neither one of them are.
Dan, are the current signs not reflective?
No, they're outdated. They're very old, and some of them are faded and some are cracky, and so I feel it's a good time to change them out for the appearance of the city.
Typically, what do you find on Brown Street and Davenport Street, particularly as far as the establishments on there during the winter, around this time, 12 a.m., are there typically a lot of cars down there? Or I gather on Friday and Saturday, obviously there are, but.
Yeah, generally it's like we try to start about like 2 o'clock, and that's right when the bars close. And there's usually like, just maybe 2 or 3 that are down there at that point. So it ain't so bad. We do have that, there's a few areas where we kind of decide, I don't know if Chief can hear me right now, but we kind of open up that parking lot right next to the, what's that, Fox?
Right.
And to have them maybe park there if they feel like they're going to be, towards that time at night.
Right. So having the streets no parking at 12 a.m. is not going to like put 20, 30 parking spots out of commission. There's typically only a few cars there anyway.
It's a good question. On Friday, Saturday night, not sure of that, but every other night, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we need to really be careful about some of the weekend hours. I don't want to put any businesses out, that have people coming and using the establishment if they are, have the car down there and they're doing it in a responsible way and they have a sober driver or whatever you might have. I don't want to be kicking them out at midnight when those establishments have customers.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I don't know if we can make it where just on the weekends have different hours. That's something we could talk out and work out. Might be a little bit more on the sign, stating that, but.
Yeah, I think having weekend hours and week hours would be a much better option because, as you said, I don't want to see any establishment, suffering from
Right.
that, and everything would have to line up right. We're not always going to get a huge snowfall for plowing on a Saturday night or a Friday night, but just in case there is, obviously we don't want to put a hindrance on any business either.
Eileen?
It could be just a matter of the signs downtown on Brown Street, Davenport Street would have weekend hours noted, but the neighborhood signs wouldn't have to, so I don't think it's that big of a deal for Friday and Saturday nights to have different hours.
Yes, I agree. And looking at this now, with this, these bottom streets here, we could just designate just downtown to that. And then the rest of the town would be 12 o'clock, which make us be able to get out at 12 o'clock then.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be very efficient then.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that, really, so.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if Lloyd wants to say anything here.
Yeah, we will not wait till the technology catches up. If it's something to chime in, this is work product that's in process right now. So Lloyd, has department meetings, he has other areas where he gets to chime in.
Okay.
If it's something that the council needs to consume at this point, we're just stating that there's progress and looking for direction. So, thank you.
Okay.
Review 2.05.13 city purchases.
Similar to the same vein, both with the audit and the last item, wanted to put before the council the current ordinance around city purchases. We've got, for good reason from the audit standpoint, but also operationally, to refresh and revisit this this ordinance. Generally, you would have a procurement policy, not necessarily a procurement ordinance, but we certainly wanted to reflect our current practices, so this is one that we're going to be reviewing. I believe there was a procurement policy drafted that I got my hands on, and so we're going to be reviewing that. I'm not sure if it's in existence. It doesn't have a date or an approval or anything on it, but we'll go ahead and review that and bring this before the council. This also brings, actually, I guess that's the next item, so I'll save that, but if there's any comments or anybody has any thoughts on this. And generally, the practice or the procedure would be the council approves the budget, right? And the departments then have the authority within a certain threshold or of state law, depending on the type of purchase that's being made, that certain procedures have to be followed. So we don't want to make it onerous, but I think it brings to bear the point that we need to have some consistency and transparency around what the procedure and the policy is. I think there might be some differences in understandings, perhaps in different departments, not in a negative way, but simply that we want to make sure that the policies are clear and understood and certainly followed. I don't have anything further on that.
Any questions?
Bring that before the council.
All right. Discuss of a capital asset policy.
Not sure how I didn't catch that grammatical error, but the capital asset policy was previously brought before the council on the topic of disposal of city assets.
It's Eileen's job.
And we have, the city has a policy on how it capitalizes assets like infrastructure and different things, and so we want to incorporate that. So as opposed to thinking about an ordinance that would simply be the disposal of assets, we really should have an understanding around what constitutes an asset. The finance department has a policy operationally, but they should be consistent with the ordinances. So the thought here is that we would completely rethink the approach on the disposal of assets. So start off defining what an asset is, and then ultimately a component of that policy would be the disposal of said assets. So it's a bit more of a comprehensive way to approach it. And so we've got some good examples of how municipalities have done that, and so I just wanted to kind of propose that to the council before any considerable time is invested in that approach. It's a bit more expansive than previously thought, but it doesn't really change the purpose of it.
Quite often, when you take a work product and you start to look at it, it has other facets, other layers. What are you going to do on this? What is the next part of that? So trying to put together a better work product for the council to consume and make into an actionable item is where we're at with a few things. But good work happening, good advancements. So update on the CDBG close from Oneida County funds.
I don't remember if this was ever an item on our agenda, but it was referenced in conversations around housing and other things. The city has been working with Oneida County Economic Development Corporation on the recapture of some I think $750,000 in CDBG closed monies. So the county has asked economic development to take the lead on it. Originally, departments at the county level were asked to put together an asset list. I know Carrie can speak to this better than I, but essentially, or maybe not, but the departments basically were told that there's too many projects and it wasn't a fit for CDBG closed. So essentially, the city is submitted a list. They've determined that ADA accommodations will be one of the 2 projects that'll be considered at the county level. So they've asked municipalities within the county to submit ADA improvements at city buildings or municipal buildings. So we've submitted a list of those to them, and then the part 2 on that is actually for, we've submitted actually two variants, one being slum and blight elimination, so that'd be like demolition of property, something we talked about last month. And then part 2 to that would be potentially acquiring property for housing development for low to moderate income individuals. So I've expressed to them that we should lump the slum and blight and housing together, because really it's a means to the end. If we can acquire the property for slum and blight elimination, it could be turned around and sold or invested in for housing development. So that's kind of the thought process. Just wanted to bring it to the council's attention that that's developed since previous understandings. The timeline on the money is that we have to get the projects identified, get the state's blessing, and then all of this to occur by the end of January. So it's developed and it's kind of evolved since the beginning of it. And I'm pleased to say that the county is considering using these funds in a municipal sense, that we can get some bang for the buck, I guess, out of it.
One of the places we looked in, Jeremy, you were part of that, is the ADA compliance in our parks and the bathrooms, identifying those areas where we can improve. So there's a few parts of that working, moving forward. G, consider the purchase of a loader in the amount of $238,000 from Fund 435. That is a correction from your packet. It's not Fund 438, it is 435.
So the city has 2 borrowings that we've talked about, I think at work sessions or even maybe during the budget discussions. There's 2 funds, 435 and 434. 434 was from 2016 and 435 was from 2018. And so some of the carryover or reserve fund balances within those funds are specified for public works expenditures. And so instead of budgeting for some of these items to occur in the next borrowing, we really need to spend down those previous borrowings. And so in the order kind of that we've borrowed the funds, so the auditors also recommend that if possible to be able to utilize them this calendar year. So unfortunately, we don't have quotes on these. I know they were working even as of today about this, but the estimates that you see there were actually estimates from one of the vendors that they were considering, but I don't have the inclusions. So certainly up to the council, if they feel comfortable proceeding. Then maybe Dan can speak to a bit more of the details on the equipment. I mean, a loader is a bit more self-explanatory, but the infamous hot box is maybe not quite as understood.
The other portion of this is our capital assets and what we're looking at in a 5-year plan as far as moving them, which ones need to be replaced. There's been a fair amount of work put out in that, identifying those needs. But Dan, you want to get up and speak about the loader?
Actually, me and Justin were just finalizing some of these numbers today. So our numbers are pretty adequate and pretty close to this, if anything, a little bit under these numbers. So it's pretty much a goal for us. We are looking at a John Deere 644, a very good machine. We're getting some good value in on our old one, and so we definitely got some, ready to go. This hot box kind of surprised us because
that's the next item. I'll have you get up and speak at that when I call that one up.
All right.
We'll vote on one and then we'll take the other item.
What's the loader for?
I'll make a motion to purchase a loader in the amount of $238,000 from Fund 435.
Holt, second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Tom?
Can you explain what the loader is used for?
Our loaders are a big part of our snowplow operations. It does many, it does the alleys, it does the parking lots, And when the next day we come in to do the downtown, is the one that pushes the snow to our snow sites. A lot of cleanup work with it.
Yeah.
It's basically an 8-hour job every time it snow plows. So it's a big asset to our snowplow operation.
Cleans our wellheads too. Our wellhead areas get plowed with that too, quite often.
Oh, I can't quite hear you.
Our wells.
Wellhead areas.
Wells?
Wellhead areas, he said.
Yes, we pretty much help out in a lot of different areas, especially at bigger parking lots. Wells, it's good for a lot of different areas. It's a good
Eileen?
cleanup machine.
Is this, did I hear that this did go out for bid? It went out for bid, this particular?
That's what we're soliciting estimates for right now, right? Yeah, so the dealer price was the number that you see on there. So it's a not to exceed item.
Okay.
It'll likely come in somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, just sticking with what we had talked about
Right,
earlier.
absolutely.
Making sure we're getting bids
Yep.
on high-ticket items like this.
And part of the reason the delay today was I've asked for 2, maybe 3 if we can. Some of the equipment, you're just not going to find a dealer that's going to give you a bid, especially if it's a price-protected item or something. And this item is replacing, from our records, a 97 John Deere, just for clarification around what it's replacing.
Correct. Yep.
The one thing, Mayor, Dan, between you and Justin and the rest of the staff, I'm sure you guys have looked at your needs, what needs to be replaced right now, and this is something that you guys have identified as a priority that needs to be replaced this winter, or that soon, right?
Yeah, correct. That's number one on our list. In fact, we were kind of concerned of our loader making it through this winter. It has a lot of hours in it, putting a lot of parts in it recently. So that was by far our number one on our list. Yeah, so basically our 3 items that were, the top 3 was our loader, a hot box, be more efficient, and then a plow truck for next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Val, please call roll. And this is just the consideration of it, but it's to give them the.
Michalowski?
Aye.
Okay, sorry. Daniel?
Aye.
Rossing?
Aye.
Barnett?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Anderson? Aye. Holt?
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries. Consider purchase of an 8-ton hot box in the amount of $57,398 from Fund 438 and 434. This is also from previous borrowing. We discussed this when we talked about our identified needs and moving some things forward. Dan,
Is that accurate, 438, or is that from 435 as well?
435.
I will make a motion to purchase an 8-ton hot box in the amount of $57,398 from Fund 435 and Fund 434.
Larson, second.
there's a motion and a second. Further discussion.
For the record, can you explain what the hot boxes are for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I could tell you what it's
yeah.
for. You did a real good job before,
did a
but I'd
really
like
good
to hear it
job.
again for the
Yeah.
public's
It's
sake.
good for the public's
Yeah.
sake.
Since I purchased my last ones, probably about 15, 20 years ago, they've really come a long ways with these hot boxes. It used to be where you had a propane tank in the back and you had to keep filling it up every other day. They're more efficient now. Now it's being heated by the diesel motor, and the whole box is heated instead of just a propane heating. We're pushing heat into the box. This is so efficient. With the technology, that's why the cost has gone up. But it's a very good machine. In fact, the county and another municipality caught when they were getting one, and they want us to bring it over that day to take a look at it because they're thinking about getting it too. We have a lot of potholing in the town. I don't know if you noticed or not, but we got a lot of potholes, and this way we can actually take breaks and keep the hot box, heated up, not worrying about the mix getting cold. There's a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, where we can only get 2 or 3 tons at a time, and by the time we come back from the plant, try to get it down, we're throwing some of it away. So this will be efficient. We're not wasting any more material, and we won't be running back and forth, getting 1 ton and a half of hot mix no more, wasting time going to get it and trying to put that down. So we'll be putting in 50%, 60, 70% more down, which is much needed in our potholes.
Yeah, Dan, that was one big thing for me. I can't remember where you guys said you were going to get that stuff, but can you say again what the travel time for two people to ride out in the truck to get the supply to then come back to the city? What was that time frame again?
It's easily an hour, yeah, and with loading time, depending if you're waiting in line or whatever, it can be an hour to an hour and a half. So yeah, it's just, that was like the first thing that I noticed when I came here is we gotta get hot box because we got a lot of potholes to cover.
Sure.
Well, I'm not going to congratulate you yet, but Val, call roll.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski.
Aye.
Congratulations, Dan. We'll get that hot box. Again, this will go to bid, if I'm understanding? All right, thank you. Just for clarification. Introduction of unfinished business, the update on the administrator search. There was a posting that went out on NeoGov and then picked up by the free sites, and that was our original position listing. We decided any differences as we collect some of those and get to a work session with council, look for a work session, that a lot of the handlings of the differences, whether we change the ordinance, whether we, how we deal with that and the duties, we can take care of that, but also can be taken care of in contract. So rather than delay the search based on little nuances that we need to get to, once again, this is kind of like the capital asset, thing where you get one part and you're like, but we have 4 other parts to work with. So in nailing this down and working amicably towards a correct position that's a correct fit, we posted that as far as that goes. But in front of you, you'll see also Toma, which is a like-sized city, came out with their city administrator search, some of their requirements and some of the other things to draw attention to. Even while we were looking at that, the Toma website has a great place, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but for complaints, as far as issuing complaints and dealing with the city that way. So as you look at some of the other places, you go down a rabbit hole and find 4 more things that we can do better. So, but this just is another piece for you to digest and think about. The work session will probably come after our budget sessions, at least in quick order. We're expecting a lot from you guys, but I appreciate the time and effort you're putting in. Any questions? Moving on. Discuss the downtown trick-or-treat event and considering COVID-19 pandemic and the guidelines surrounding mass gatherings. At this time, I'm actually ask Lloyd to chime in first. He's worked on this product pretty diligently and can speak to it. Lloyd?
Sure. This has been something that I've been thinking about now for 3 to 4 weeks now to a month, and I did a lot of research on different things, including the document that Zach sent out regarding what other communities in Wisconsin are doing, and I was really shocked to see a vast majority of them are holding their events as they planned. They're just going to put out some additional best safety, best practice guidelines for parents and for homeowners. I also thought about the availability of Hodak Park and could we do some type of trunk or treat. The problem that we have, I talked with DRI to try to see if we could arrange something like this, but we have a short window to do something of that nature at a drive-through type of thing. And I didn't feel it was, if we had a couple places where people could purchase candy, drop it off, I just felt that doing it that way, we don't have enough time. We don't know for sure what kind of donations would be received, who is going to be responsible for that. I'd hate to see certain downtown businesses feel an obligation to do that. Then there'd be pre-packaging. Where would the bags come from? Who's going to package the bags? Something like that would take a coordinated effort longer than a month out. So looking at best practices, I did reach out to Minocqua and 3 Lakes today. Both of them have not, the chiefs did not get back to me with whether they're going them or not have them. Both of them weren't sure if they're going to have their events. But I know that as as close as Schofield is having their event. So my recommendation is that we we cancel the DRI downtown trick or treat. That's the one that I considered. It would be very hard to, from me personally being involved in the last 2 years, actually 3 years, of any type of social distancing when you're talking about that many kids focusing strictly on candy. A lot of times the kids that are down there aren't escorted by adults. And so I talked with DRI. The board of directors agreed with me that they're okay with it being suspended for 1 year, and that we would do a regular trick-or-treat event. Now, I did examine the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. They have a whole section on Halloween best practices. And again, their recommendation is not to have the event. But if you do have the event, they give you some safety tips about instead of having your traditional where people come to your house, knock on your door, ring your doorbell, that the homeowner would prepackage the treat in either a paper cup and or a small bag, and that the children would be able to come and grab that, and there wouldn't be any personal contact. The other best practices they're talking about is only trick-or-treat with those in your household. And when you are trick-or-treating, keep social distance between you and the groups in front and back of you. To wear a mask either under or over your Halloween costume. Obviously, washing your hands, and as every parent should do every year, is examine the candy before you allow your children to eat any of it for safety purposes. And the other big thing they talk about is staying local. Don't travel to different communities to partake in this event. I know that there are other suggestions that were about roping off downtown, about a longer time stretch, maybe break up the kids into different groups and different hours. I really thought hard and long about those, and I think that if we extend the hours anymore, you're just going to give, not everybody's going to abide by those rules, and I'm not going to be able to enforce those rules. And parents have kids in different age groups, so which time do they go? You're going to see more kids, instead of doing it 4 to 7, they're going to do it 2 to 7. So to minimize, I think we'd keep it to the traditional. The police department would be responsible through our website, through media, and also through the city of Rhinelander's government webpage. We would put out best practices. We do that every year. We do a Facebook post sharing safety concerns and best practices. This year we just have to add additional more stuff because of COVID. That would be my recommendation, is that we go with our traditional trick-or-treat, same hours, just the one event, and we just do a really good job leaving it up to the parents. Obviously, if anybody's sick, whether you're a homeowner or a parent or a child, you just don't participate this year.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? Ryan?
Not specifically for the chief, but I do have a question. Is this something that the city government itself is the one that needs to be the one to cancel this event? I mean, I look at DRI. My main concern is the businesses and DRI, because Chief had said before that there was 20 people or 20 businesses for and 20 against. So that's a big setback in my eyes. So if DRI doesn't want to participate, or the businesses downtown don't want to participate, are they looking for us to be the ones that are canceling this event, or what? I know we're discussing this, but can you explain to me what our role in this specifically is?
It was originally brought to us by even David Holt, saying we should make some decisions or deciding factors on it. On that being the case, can we mandate that they don't have it, or mandate that they do have it? What we can do is give our stamp that the council agrees that it shouldn't happen because we were unable to make it safe. Once again, I don't even know if, Chief, if you have anything that you could enforce if DRI was to go forward with it anyway, that we could do. Is there anything that allows you that ability?
Well, once again, when DRI did their survey with their downtown business, it was 12 no, 11 yes, and 2 not sure. So even a vast majority of businesses, from talking with the DRI board of directors, this isn't an event where they expect a large amount of shopping in their businesses. if you've been downtown and you see the mass gathering of kids, you just can't shop when there's kids coming in and out of your store in that capacity. So their event is usually just a goodwill offering to the community when they do this. And they understand, from talking to the board of directors, they understand that we're under a pandemic and that they're unable to, some of these businesses don't have enough employees that they could put somebody outside just to do candy because they have to run their store too. So again, their look at it is that they're okay with it being, that they don't do it. As a matter of fact, I think a large majority of them aren't going to do it, whether the city says it can go or not go. I thought it would be a good idea for the city to make some type of stance on, because the Department of Health and Services also doesn't suggest that people have large parties or gatherings. I know that there's some people that like to have a haunted house in their yard. I have a request to close the street down so that people can go to their haunted house. I think those events are events that we shouldn't recommend, but if people want to participate in a citywide trick-or-treat, they do it by using the best practices, guidelines, and common sense.
David?
Yes, thank you. I would agree with Lloyd's assessment here. I think it's thorough, and I think that the city council should recommend cancellation of the downtown business trick-or-treating. As far as neighborhood trick-or-treating goes, I think that obviously our public safety and public health officials are going to recommend to people these best practices, but trying to mandate anything with an event as decentralized as trick-or-treating, I think would just create more chaos. So I also agree with Lloyd with keeping the same hours, asking or reinforcing that there are best practices. There's literature that you could read on how to be as safe as possible. Obviously, if people are sick, I mean, any given day, any given year rather, if kids are sick, their parents are going to be less likely to send them out. So that would be my stance.
Tom?
I would agree with Lloyd's assessment as well. Last year, I participated, my business, in the downtown trick-or-treating, and the kids literally are on top of each other trying to get through the door to get the candy. That event would be a very bad situation, in my opinion. But as far as the downtown trick-or-treating goes, it's an open-air event. People are smart. I mean, no matter what we decide tonight. Yeah, neighborhood trick-or-treating, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the neighborhood trick-or-treating. Parents are smart, people are smart. No matter what we decide here tonight, we are going to make one group or another mad. That's just how it's been, that's how it's gonna be until this is all over. There is no right decision to make everyone 100% happy with it. Open air event, 90% of kids are wearing masks anyway, whether it be the shape of a werewolf or a doctor's mask. And we can put the recommendations on how to safely trick-or-treat right on our website so that people have all the information. But as far as our regular trick-or-treating goes, I say we go, let the kids have fun, do it safely. We can put the recommendations out there, but the police departments aren't even, mandating mask wearing and all that. How are they going to mandate and go out for, going after people who are trick-or-treating? That's just ridiculous to me. So I think if we put the proper safety regulations on our website for the public to consume, that we should let trick-or-treating happen this way it does every year. That's my opinion.
I have something to say.
What's that?
Do you have something to say? I was going to say something too.
I was going to ask if somebody wanted to make a motion as far as a recommendation that the council recommends this. Is that fair enough or no?
Recognize the fact that if you're not sponsoring the event, I mean, the city is not sponsoring the event, the city really doesn't have anything to do with the event other than, you know, you can establish what you consider to be your public policy. The health departments are the ones that control whether or not there's going to be a rule that says that this event's going to be canceled or not the city council. And so, other than for you to express your opinions or provide public access to information, there's really no role for the city.
Thank you.
And without a permit. Now, if they're asking for a permit to block the streets, or they're asking for a permit to use the parks, that'd be a whole different thing. But I don't see any permit before the group tonight anyway.
Thank you. Could have saved us 10 minutes, though.
I've been trying.
All right, so moving on.
Hold on. David's got something.
David, sorry.
I
can't tell
want
if
to say, I don't think it was a waste of time. I think that
No.
having it as a discussion, hearing what Lloyd had to say in a public meeting especially is a very good thing.
Absolutely.
I just want to publicly say thanks to Lloyd, too, for his research on this. I do agree with a lot of the stuff that he says, and Tom, I agree with what you say, too, about the open-air event for not the downtown, but the neighborhood. You know, we have a couple things. One is the homeowner can choose whether or not they have their light on to participate in the trick-or-treat event, and also parents and being in charge of their children can say whether or not they feel safe to go out in the neighborhoods as well. So thanks again to Lloyd for looking into the downtown stuff for us. That's all I have to say about that, so thanks.
Carrie.
Lloyd, I guess I'm just wondering if the best practices are only going to be on the websites, or are they going to go to the media outlets as well?
I'm only caught part of that, but we would publish them. I would do a press release to the media, maybe even an interview with Channel 12, the Star Journal, River News, and also put it on Facebook page and also share it with the city. We also print out best practices, and they're in the lobby at the police department for when people come in throughout the month of October that they can grab. You know, I could even maybe reach out to local radio stations to see if any of them are interested in doing any type of PSA announcement regarding the event and how do we do it this year with the COVID in mind. So I would be responsible and take the charge on doing the best we could to put those best practices out there.
Great, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, discussion? Moving on. Closed session, if necessary to convene into closed session per Wisconsin State Statutes 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties and investing in public lands or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Discussion, acquisition of property, discuss the sale of city property along Timber Drive.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Barnett,
Rossi.
second.
There's a motion and a second. Val, call roll.
Rossing,
Aye.
Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson.
And, yeah, Anderson won't be allowed in closed session
Oh, okay.
for our previous
Holt,
discussion.
Aye.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Ayes have it. Move into closed session.
We are good.
We're good. Yeah. All right. Nope, nope, still waiting for
Here comes
Val.
Val. She's taking the steps 2 by 2, man.
Come on, you run races all the time. This should be fun for you. All right, we'll return to open session. There is no action to take from closed session. Future agenda items. Approval of an agreement with Northwoods Connect for the use of the water tower. Zach? I know. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Approval of AT&T lease agreement will be on a future agenda. Is there other future agenda items at this time?
Yeah.
Just on those two items, if you have any critique or criticism about using the water towers for those purposes, let us know, because we don't want to waste a lot of time and money negotiating and then come back and you don't want to use them for that.
It's a future agenda item.
I understand.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm wondering, do other towns do that? Do they lease water towers? Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay, no problem. I'm just trying to manage.
I think we should put the winter parking regulations on for the next meeting and the ones thereafter until we get that figured out, until we can vote on it and pass it, and the businesses can understand what we're going to do with downtown and the rest of the city. So.
And if Dan can put together, if he can find out how many signs are going to need to be changed and get a cost assessment on what those signs are going to cost, because that's not in the budget right now, that would be good.
Is that all? All right, that being the case, we are adjourned.